Welcome back, everybody. If I would have asked you 2 years ago if you blog, you probably would have said no. A year ago, some would have said yes. And today, quite a few more probably would say yes. I'm here to talk about where we've been and where we are. And as far as blogging is concerned, Lisa Renee Ward of the Glass City Jungle and Chris Myers from Swampbubbles. I don't know if we can actually document this, but I imagine the most read blogs in our area. Would you agree with that?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Quite possibly.
I think he and I are probably the top two in Twitter.
Maggie Thurber has a blog, I know that.
Maggie has a blog, but I think, and she does rather well too, but I think Chris and I are probably the top two. I know I'm ranked in Ohio.
Yes, I've seen that. And I bring you in at a time when, obviously, Chris, your blog makes the news this past week. Jason Weber's private posting, on a MySpace?
Yeah, on a MySpace.
I see, I'm getting into an area where you got to help me out here.
The social network.
Yes, social networking site. There's Facebook too, right?
Yep.
And there's Twitter.
And Twitter, right? Twitter's becoming more popular now. But somebody apparently hacked into Jason Weber's private posting where he talked to...
Nobody hacked it.
Nobody hacked into it.
Posting, no. The way that I came about it was completely legal, but I really won't get into how I came about it.
Well, basically, Jason Weber said some things on that posting that were not favorable about his boss, Mayor Carty Finkbeiner. Things that were pretty nasty. But he said, taking out of context, still has his job. The mayor said people make mistakes, and Jason Weber is still a spokesperson for Mayor Carty Finkbeiner. So I guess in that situation, who determines, you both as the operators of blogs, how do you determine what crosses the line on what goes in and what you keep out? Lisa, I'll start with you.
That's part of, I think, the controversy that this situation with Jason has created. It's happened in other areas as well. Is this is kind of a starting discussion for our area as far as where do you draw the line as far as what do you feel is appropriate as far as public records or when you go private, because that's something that each web operator has to decide for themselves where their line is. And this is where Chris and I disagree, because with my line, I would not post something that was originally intended to be private. For me, I maintain public record information and other things like that. I think that with Facebook and MySpace, they give people the perception that there is privacy because they actually tell you how to make your post private. So I think part of the misconception out there is people feel safe and secure because they've been given this impression. And what we have discovered is the reality is as long as people can access it, there are probably going to be people that are going to post it, so you really don't have any privacy online anymore with the way this has changed.
Is it safe to say, Chris, that the minute you start typing and send it, that there's a chance it could get out? So if you really don't, you feel like you don't want it to be shared, don't start typing.
Well, one of the things that people always have to be cognizant about is that when anything's online, that there could be multiple ways that anything could get out, intentionally or unintentionally. There's always systems can fail. There's been many instances of technology, of private postings becoming live because there was a bug in the system. Your friend could forget to log out at the library and somebody could come up and see it. Someone who was your friend could be angry and they could want to, get back at you and send things out. So even if you do something online, there's no, and you think that it's private, there's no assurances that it won't get out intentionally or unintentionally. So as you're doing things online, you always have to keep in back of your mind that whatever you say could possibly get out. And if you're worried about how that will affect your employment or how that will affect who you are, then you probably should reconsider saying it in the first place.
As the operator of this blog, if you had it to do over again, would you have put Jason Weber's posting on Swampbubbles?
Yes, I would.
You would?
I would. What I would have done differently is I would have explained my reasonings more. I've been unabashedly for open government, and I think that when you come across something that can give an insight, a first-person account of what goes on in government, and you get it legally.
Do you consider yourself a journalist here, where you're bringing that out into what you think is the public's right to know?
Well, bloggers, I consider myself more of an active citizen, someone who something that I feel passionate about, I'm going to talk about. And so when I came across the blog postings and I saw that this is a first-person account, you don't get many first-person accounts before they leave the 22nd floor. When I saw that this was out there, I thought that it would be interesting to see what someone else observed of our mayor, Cardi Finkbeiner.
Did you think it was really breaking any new ground? I mean, it's been documented or been said by many. The mayor does have a significant, he's that fiery personality. Any new ground with that?
Well, see, this is, I guess, where a different standard or a different what people are used to online, because blogging is very raw. And sometimes in journalism it's more refined, it's more, analyzing, make sure you present the story. Blogging, on the other hand, is very raw. And to me, when I see a raw first-person account, I think that in the internet world, if it's come across legally and it gives good insight into government, I think that it's worth being put out there in public discussion.
How much do you edit, Lisa, from the information that is sent to you? How much do you take a look at and say, this? I think this may go over the line. People who send it, or the information that they send, the way in which they send it, the tone.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that people send me that I would not post because I can't source it, and if I can't verify it's public record, or if I can't verify it actually happened, I don't post it. You get rumors and innuendo a lot. If I can get someone that will actually go on the record, or I can get several off-the-record sources that can confirm the exact same thing, then I would go with it. But I would also divulge that no one had sourced it either. I'm not a journalist, but I tend to follow a little bit more of the ethical procedure that would involve with journalism.
Chris?
And that's one of the things that makes blogging different, is really blogs are about the personality of the person. And they're really about what that person feels. And in how that value system usually comes out in what people think is a legitimate story or not. Journalisms are stuck with a code of not stuck, but they follow a code of ethics. And
thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, you're welcome. They follow a code of ethics, and that code of ethics guides to make sure that the stories are appropriately analyzed in source.
And that's what I think should be followed. And I think that's part of the reason we're having the discussion we're having now, and why so many people are weighing in on this, is that blogging is like the next wave for the information highway. And we don't have any standards right now. It's like the Wild West.
Right.
But eventually, the same standards that have happened with every other technology are going to come onto us. And we can either embrace them willingly, and we can say, this is what I'm willing to do, this is not what I'm willing to do, or we can say, hey, anything goes, no matter how I get it, it doesn't matter who it hurts, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, if I know it, I'm posting it. That creates a whole different mindset that actually makes people turn away from the internet rather than turn towards it.
Well, and I've read both of your blogs. I think that's pretty obvious. Chris, it tends to be, with a lot of bloggers, there's attitude. There can be serious attitude. Some are smart alecks. Others have very salient points, make very good arguments. But Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when it gets to the point where it gets nasty, I see you'll say, back off a little bit.
We've talked about this before. I end up having to play mom because I want to keep a civil tone on my blog. My rules are clear. I keep things that way because the goal of my blog is to create civil discussion.
Okay, we're going to have to wrap it up right there, but I thank you both for coming in, because we're going to be talking more about blogs in the future on the Information Superhighway. So it's good that both of you are here to talk about this. Jason, or I should say, Chris Myers, thanks very much, and Lisa Renee Ward, thanks very much for coming in today. We're going to come back in just a minute. Take 3 right after this.